Hi, thank you for joining us this week on our podcast. Last week we talked about eating whole food plant-based on a budget. And I don't know how to transition to this, but this week we're going to talk about our thoughts on the healthcare system. So we're hoping that we don't get kicked off or banned for here, but we want people to know while these are our thoughts, they are based on our own experiences and B on articles written by other medical providers. And so we're not making things up. This is not conspiracy theory. It is just is our own experiences. So Dan, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. I'm excited. I'm excited about this topic. I know you have this article that you found that you thought would be great to
Oh yeah.
get us started, that's inspired us. So, to tell us about this.
Well, this article comes from the official government PMC articles, the NCBI NCBI government PMC article is called "Selling Sickness: The Pharmaceutical Industry and Disease Mongering." Now, if you're new to this, a lot of people they trust the medical system and the doctors, and they believe they're there to help us. But you have to remember, everything is a business. And the medical business is one of the biggest businesses in the world. We're talking about $1 billion or $1 trillion industry. So this article goes on to say that a lot of these illnesses are, some of them are actually made up, but some of them they try to make them out to be more dangerous or more lethal than they really are to try to, well, basically sign new patients on. But and the hospital beds, it's like a hotel. The hospital, they have to keep their beds full to make money. And look, my dad, he died last year, but he was doing okay until he went to the hospital. And after that, they turned an able-bodied man into a crippled man. And then he just kept getting worse until he died back in November. I was at his bedside. It was horrific. But I mean, we could go on all day about this subject, but Jennifer, um, I know you've had your own experiences with the medical system.
I did. Before I talk about my own, well, this is kind of my experience as well. So the medical system is definitely a business.
Mm.
They do need to make money. They do have boards they have to report to. And they also are driven by the insurance business. And so like with your father, my father-in-law, and other people that I know as well, it's like the doctors will say there's nothing else we can do, but let's try this. And they do all these different labs and tests and x-rays and so on and so forth. And they test and test and test. And I have to believe that it is based on insurance will pay for them to do X, Y, and Z. So they already know it's not going to be helpful, but they know if they do all this that they're going to get paid. And so people come out of the hospital or they don't ever make it out of the hospital. And then they or their loved ones are left with not only they lost someone, but they have all these medical bills and they're still dealing with all the insurance and everything else. Where if the doctors had just said, there's nothing else we can do, and helped you end um, in a much better way, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And someone's even said, we treat our animals better than we treat humans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we can tell when an animal's suffering. And so like your father and the same with my father-in-law, they weren't really suffering when they went into the hospital.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. And so,
But the hospital is all about
yeah,
stuff. I mean, I know a doctor in town. He's a friend of mine, and he told me if you are dying and there's nothing they can do, he recommended do not go to the hospital because in his career, he said if you have good insurance, they will run all sorts of tests and do all sorts of procedures to you, knowing that they will not save your life, but it's all
yes,
about the money. This is crazy. And
it
look, I know
is.
it's be hard for people to believe and understand, but look, if you give people a big paycheck, it changes people. And I'm not saying this is not the doctors aren't evil, but the system they're working for
Right.
is greedy. To
Right.
put it
Right.
simply.
Well, someone close to me had an accident, went to the emergency room and had x-rays, CT scans, got transferred to another hospital, and they would not use the x-rays and the CT scans from 12 hours ago. They had to do their own x-rays. And so not only, is this going to cost a whole lot more money, this person's being exposed to how much radiation, having exactly the same thing done again 12 hours later. And it's like, why? It just really makes you wonder. And then, so you had asked me about my own experience. And so this, we were just talking about my experience with a family member and the way I word it. But from my own experience, so I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease back in 2007. Many of you have heard my story. And the doctor said you have to have either chemo or radiation, no, surgery or radiation. And I said, no, I was not going to do surgery or radiation. Many of you know my motto today, my mission is to save body parts. And it's because of this. And they told me you had to have surgery or radiation. And I fought it for 6 years. And I went into remission, and then something would happen. I'm one of those who tends to be very anxious, which can be related to my autoimmune condition. But whenever something traumatic happens or I get under too much stress, I don't allow myself to relax. That is when my autoimmune condition flares. And I was in a car accident. I was driving in a storm and a tree fell on my car while I was driving. Most people don't survive that. Luckily, I was driving an Expedition. It wasn't a very big car, but it was very traumatic. I went into an autoimmune flare, lost a lot of weight really fast. I could not keep the weight on. I was not whole food plant-based at the time. And so I would, every day I would go by McDonald's and get a giant like mocha shake. I mean, I was just eating and drinking as much high calorie, high fat food as I could, trying to put weight on. I couldn't. And I went to my doctor and she said, you have to do radiation or you will die. You have to, or you will die. And, this is a doctor, and so this was one of my questions I was going to ask on the podcast today was, should we put our trust into one person and look at our doctor as experts? Because that's kind of how we were raised. The doctor is the expert. The doctor tells you, you do this is what you do. That's what my parents did. That's what their parents did. We put all of our trust in this doctor. They have their white coat on. They're the experts. They know what's going on. So anyway, I say I was conned into having radiation, and I did. And I did know that, once you do this, you will not be able to have children, increases risk of some other conditions. And so I did know that, but what I did not understand was once I had the radiation, I was still going to have an autoimmune disease. I just was going to have an autoimmune disease and no longer have this organ. So I killed an organ and I still have an autoimmune condition. I shouldn't use those words that way. I still have a diagnosis of an autoimmune condition. I am not my illness. I don't want to claim an illness, right? So
Yeah.
now for the rest of my life, I have to take medication for the organ that I replaced, that I had radiated. So I'm stuck. So I've been going to a functional medicine doctor since then. It was right after I had the radiation, my doctor retired. And so for years, she had agreed that I did not have to have surgery or radiation, that it could be managed. But then all of a sudden she told me I was going to die if I didn't. I believed her because she had gone along with me, and then she retired. And so I don't know why she did it, but my theory is I was padding her pocket. She's retiring, and she didn't want the next doctor to go, why did this doctor let her go on for 6 years without having surgery or radiation? I don't know. But so now I'm in this position where my current doctor, so I met my doctor right after this one. And I said, why didn't I find you sooner? And she said, I wish you had. We could have saved this organ for you. And I was so upset. And now I got an email yesterday. My new doctor retired. And so now I'm stuck. I've got to find another doctor. So now I have to find a doctor who will let me manage this myself. But I also have to be on medication for the rest of my life. So I do compounded medication. So now I have to not only find a doctor that will let me manage it myself, but find one that will let me do compounded medicine that I found that, works for me. It's nice and clean. I feel really good. I don't have antibodies. So now I'm getting stressed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go into another flare because I'm worried about losing my doctor. So that's not what all we were talking about today, but that is why I am so passionate about what I do now. Because it could have been managed. I was not using the right tools. I was looking to gain weight because the main signal for my autoimmune disease was that I was losing weight so fast. Well, I was trying to make it up with, like I said, high calorie, high fat foods. Like I was going to McDonald's every day, drinking these shakes and things. Well, now I know dairy, extremely inflammatory. At night I was drinking chocolate milk. I would probably drink 2 glasses of chocolate milk every night before I went to bed. Look at all that inflammation. I was making breads every day. And I had asked my doctor before, my previous doctor, if gluten had anything to do with it. No,
Of course not.
food and diet. I don't know why people talk about that, but food and diet have nothing to do with it. You need a quick Googling. And so at the time I was baking, I am a big baker. I'd make a pizza crust every day. I'd make at least 1 or 2 loaves of bread every day. I mean, every week. And I would make muffins, usually blueberry muffins on Sundays or pancakes, whatever. So I was eating these foods that now I know I actually have genetic SNPs, which I do DNA analysis for people too, but that show that I should not have any gluten at all, that show I should not have any caffeine at all. Lactose did not show up in mine, but I know that I feel so much better now that I'm off of dairy. Anyway, I didn't mean to get on all of that, but I just want you to know that I should not have put all of my trust in that one doctor.
No.
Which in fact, she wasn't the only doctor. I had had another doctor before her, but he was totally your surgery or radiation, the first one. It was like, I'm not working with you if you don't have surgery or radiation. Anyway, I get so upset.
Yeah.
So I think we should always look, for other options. And unfortunately, we do have to do our own due diligence. The doctors, they go in and they do not, they go in to be a doctor for a reason. They want to take care of you. They want to help people, but the medical system, the educational system is all, it's written by their textbooks are written by pharmaceutical companies. The pharmaceutical companies are in there to help promote their equipment. They are trained to use these x-rays, these CT scans, to read the labs, and they're trained for a specific part of your body, not the whole picture. And unfortunately, we need to look at the whole picture. For me now, I will go into a flare if I get into too much stress. I'm eating clean. I'm exercising every day. I'm doing the things that we are taught to do from a young child. Eat your fruits and vegetables, exercise, but we don't talk about mindset. We don't talk about meditation, relaxation, downtime. I've seen where schools have started yoga and parents have come in and said, no, this is a religious thing. You can't do yoga in school. So a whole nother topic. But I think it's very important that children do learn these techniques, some form of meditation that should be a part of our daily lifestyle. And, for me, I have to do my legs at the wall before dinner to relax, to help me in my day. And the last couple of weeks, I've been stressed. I've had deadlines. I haven't been doing it. And I'm getting and so I know I've got to take care of me. And that is a tool that I need that doctors don't learn about. They don't know that these are things. People say, why is my body not responding to this, with cancer? Well, maybe they're not looking at the whole picture. They're not being told that it's, you can't just have chemo and radiation. You need, and I'm not telling you not to have chemo and radiation if you have cancer. Please go to your doctor. I did not say a medical disclaimer in the beginning of this. We're not saying don't go, if you get shot, please go to the emergency room. You get your leg cut off, please go to the emergency room. If you are sick and you have cancer, please consult your doctor. We are not saying consult your doctor. We're just saying that there are other things other than just what the doctor says. And I have been going on and on. let me take a breath. Daniel.
I like to see your passion at work here.
Yeah.
That's why she's such a good coach, people. This girl is a good coach.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Um,
It's just I get upset.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. And a lot of things, the pharmaceutical industry, for example, I think some people think that pharmaceuticals actually cure, like say you got high blood pressure. A
Yes.
lot of people are think if they take a pill for it and it goes down, they're cured, but this isn't true. High blood pressure
Right.
isn't even a disease, it's a symptom of something going on in the body. This could be you
Yes.
may have some narrow arteries, you may be too heavy, your blood could be thick from eating a lot of fat, but there's studies. I follow Dr. McDougall. He said that the studies on blood pressure medication show little to no benefit in reducing the chances of heart attacks or strokes.
Mhm.
Dietary medicine, like we teach, I think I saw a study, it works like, I don't know, 10 times better at reducing the chance of heart attacks and strokes than taking a blood pressure pill. And now there's studies showing that older people 65 plus, if you get their blood pressure too low on a blood pressure drug, they can actually increase their risk of having a stroke or heart attack. Because there's a reason the blood pressure is up. The body's like, okay, we need more pressure going to whatever's going on in this person's body. But a doctor won't check you because just take this drug, you know?
Yeah.
And if you go to a doctor and they tell you that food doesn't matter, I say run to
Find
another
another
one
doctor.
because they
Find another
don't know
doctor.
what they're talking about.
Yes. Yes. And the same goes with diabetes medication. You go
Yes.
on diabetes and they even tell you, you go on this and you stay on it for life. And you can still eat, your cheeseburgers and your biscuits for breakfast. You just might need to take more insulin or you might need to, whatever, but you're going to be on this the rest of your life. There's nothing we can do about it. And what we know is that's not true. If it's type 2 diabetes, lifestyle and food have everything to do with it.
Yes.
And mindset, for me, if I get stressed, then my blood sugar spikes. Well, I bet that happens for many of you as well.
Mhm.
But you can change your diet, you can change your exercise, and you can change your resting state, put yourself into relaxation, sleep better, and you can improve those markers. You can improve your blood sugar. There is hope. You don't have to be on this. Now, for someone like me, if you had an organ destroyed or surgically removed, unfortunately, I don't know another option. You've got to take something. You can't just take an organ out and not have your organ anymore. So you do have to have medication. But if you did not have anything removed or radiated, then there should be a way that you can correct this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of these organs with the cleansing, herbal cleansing and things, we can bring them back up online, so to speak. They start working again. And
Yes,
this, yeah.
It could be like a heavy metal toxicity or something. I
Oh
didn't mean to
yeah.
interrupt you. Yeah, I mean, it could be you just need detoxification. It could be your liver is all clogged up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or it could be that you're just, stressed out. You haven't learned how to manage anxiety. Or maybe you're missing some nutrients that you need for different pathways in your brain. A
Yeah.
lot of times people think someone suffering from Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, and it's all because they're toxic. They need to be detoxed, or they're not getting some of the vital nutrients that they need. If you have been eating the same foods every day for years and years and years, then you're most likely very deficient in some vitamins and minerals that you need, and that will lead to different symptoms. And a lot of times they're neurological symptoms.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your doctor may not know that. Your doctor only knows whatever it is whatever they handle,
Mm-hmm.
whatever organ they handle or body part that they handle, they don't understand. Sometimes some they do, some doctors do, but they're not taught in most medical schools about the whole picture, and they don't learn about nutrition, and they don't know that, you need specific B vitamins for this or vitamin A for that. you know, and these foods are high in vitamin A, and if you eat foods high in this, it's going to help with that. You know, the doctors don't learn that, and it's not because they don't want to. It's just, it's not taught in school.
Yeah, they have a very specialized education, and it's very like in this little box, and they
Yeah.
don't step out of that box. Indeed, if they do and they make a big ruckus out of it, some of them can even be reprimanded by the pharmaceutical boards. Well, the
Yes.
so that's
Yes.
why
Yes.
that's
Yes.
why I decided to go this route. Look, my advisor in college, she wanted me to go to medical school, but I didn't want to go, and
Right.
I wanted to do this because this is what I think this is. Well, I know this is very important. What we do is very, very important. And I think that if we were allowed more freedom and we got to interact with more doctors and we work together, this population would be a lot healthier because Americans as a whole, we are a sick country.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
so something's not working.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And we're supposed to be like one of the best countries, one of the richest countries, but we have one of the sickest
Yes.
population.
Right.
Now something's wrong, okay?
Right. Right.
And it's
Exactly.
nutrition. You got to start with.
Has a lot to do with it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes. We subsidize foods that are not healthy. And so
yes.
it's just much cheaper to eat unhealthy food. And they fortify it. Oh, it's because you need these vitamins, minerals, but
Yeah.
they don't fortify it with everything that was stripped. It's just the key ones that they think you need, but you were missing some of these other little ones that doctors didn't realize, or whoever didn't realize those little ones are actually just as important as the big ones.
Yeah, and that's why you're having a lot of times you're having disease because you're malnourished and the body cannot function without all
Yeah.
the vitamins and minerals. It just cannot, it doesn't work anymore. And
Right.
so that's where you have to start.
Yeah. And so while we are very struggled with the healthcare system, um, definitely something needs to change.
Yeah.
Um, it's up to all of us to do our own research, unfortunately, and to get a second opinion, and to look at the whole body, the whole picture, you know, your whole surrounding. Look at everything that's going on in your life. You know, it's not just, it's not going to be just one thing either. You know, you
Mm-mm.
can't just tweak one little thing. It's usually there's usually a lot involved, and it's very definitely helpful to get someone else to help. A lot of times we put our own blinders on the things that are going on in our own, you know, body. That sometimes it takes someone else you know, asking you a question, and you go, oh, you know, I didn't think about that. Or you know, you're right. I didn't realize that I am holding these emotions in, or I'm not, you know, doing this or that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the more I do this, I think that your emotional state, your past traumas, they are huge on the state of your current health.
Yes.
And even a lot of health
Yes.
coaches aren't taught this. This is like a emerging science.
Yes. Yes. Well, you have two patients. We don't have patients, but you know, there's two people in the hospital, and the doctor comes in and says, you have 6 months to live. Well, what's going to happen? Person A is going to say, oh my gosh, I only have 6 months to live. Person B is going to go, I'm going to prove them wrong. What do you think is going to happen? You know, the one that says, this is it, guess what? That's going to be it. The one that says, I'm going to prove them wrong, they're going to prove them wrong.
Hmm. And this is also been studied and proven.
Yeah.
Mindset is everything, really.
Yeah.
Because if your mind's not set, you won't even start eating plant-based. You won't start doing herbal detoxification. It all starts with a decision
Yes.
change.
Yes. Right.
And you're going to get a lot of, you may get a lot of pushback from friends and family.
Yes.
You have to learn how to
Yes.
deal with that. You have to stay strong in your mind and strong with your decisions,
And
even in the
medical.
face of adversity.
Yes. And your doctor may go against you too. You may
Oh
have to get
yeah,
another doctor.
yeah.
Yeah.
But look, the doctor is you hire the doctor, so you can fire the
Yes.
doctor. Okay. A lot of
Yes.
people, I've seen people hire a doctor and they act like this is their boss. It's not your boss. You hire,
No.
you know?
No. Yes. And so many people, they don't want you to question your doctor. Well, maybe you should. You
Yeah.
know, if your doctor's giving you nutritional advice that doesn't sit well with you, ask them where they got their nutrition information.
Yeah. Probably from one of their colleagues or somebody who went on a diet. Like I heard a saying that said that your doctor knows less about nutrition than his secretary that's on a diet right now. And this is true.
Right.
I mean, I know of some doctors in town and they eat crap and
Right.
they're pudgy.
Yes.
And you want health advice from them? No.
Right. Well, and you look at the, who's standing out in the smoking section.
Yep.
It's the medical providers. Right. Yes. They're not the picture of health.
No.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
really good for emergencies and things of that nature, but for lifestyle diseases, I'm going to tell you, you need more help than they can give you.
Right.
And the help is going to come from you as a person.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a myth in the country, a pill for every ill. That to me, it just takes responsibility out of the individual's hands, and they think that, well, I can keep eating pizza or whatever and take this medication.
Yeah.
That is a myth.
I think
Okay.
I heard somewhere that the average 50-plus-year-old takes 7 prescriptions a day.
Oh yeah, I believe that. And
Oh my gosh.
when I was in dietetics, we had to do a paper. It was on polypharmacy in America and how they have no idea what this. It makes people really sick, but they don't know how all these interact because there's no studies. It's too broad.
Yes, right. They know how this drug interacts with different things, and they know how that drug interacts with things, but they don't know how this drug and this drug together interact with different things. So then they have to give you this one for more symptoms and that one for more symptoms, where it would be better off if you just weren't on any of them.
Exactly. And
Yes.
you're saying over 50s on 7. Now, the older people get, the more drugs. I think somebody 70 plus are on like 12 to 20.
Unbelievable. And the liver has to clean all this.
Yeah.
Yeah. How is that managed?
My
Well,
my mom's, or not my wife's grandmother, they had her on like 12 medications and she was acting crazy. So my mother-in-law takes her to a doctor. This doctor was from Africa. So he wasn't Americanized. He said, look, he said, first of all, I don't know why they have this old woman on all this medicine. He took her off of it. And guess what? She stopped acting crazy. It was affecting her mind,
yeah. Yeah.
you know? And one more
Yeah.
thing is over in Europe, this is I know a guy from Europe. Over there, the doctors actually get paid to make a patient actually heal them. Over there,
Uh-huh.
they use herbs before they ever go to pharmaceuticals.
Mhm.
The system is different.
Right. Right.
This system is all about pharmaceuticals.
Yes. Yeah. That's my youngest child's. No, I can't remember. I have my second child. Anyway, that doctor is really the one who really sparked a lot of this in me. Like, I already knew before I had children that I wanted to work and I wanted to do this. I wanted to be a health coach, but I didn't have the words for that, or a
Yeah,
health educator. I did not have the words for that. I didn't know what that would look like. I just knew I'm supposed to be helping people with their health and their fitness.
yeah.
So then it was the second pediatrician that we ever went to. He was actually from Cuba, and everything he did was herbs first. We
Mm.
loved him. We loved him. My kids never, like, my youngest right now is about to turn 17 when this podcast comes out. It might be 17. I don't know if she's ever been on an antibiotic. I
Wow.
don't think she has. She got sick or hurt something when we first moved here. So she must have been 7 or 8, and we had to go to the pharmacy, and they had never, I mean, her name had never even been in the pharmacy. Yeah. And so it's, how different is that
Yeah,
from the typical
exactly.
child? I mean, and I did give my children vaccinations. Would I do things differently now? Yes. Not completely avoiding all vaccinations, but I'm not telling anyone don't do vaccinations or do vaccinations. I'm just saying that now what I know, I would do a little bit differently. My children did still go to doctor for like well checkup visits and things like that. But my point is, we used herbs. We used garlic oil in the ears. That's what he told us to do. This was before I was an herbalist. So that's what we would do. And so my kids never had, if they thought they were getting a sore ear, we would do that. They never had ear infections. They didn't have strep throat. They didn't have all these other conditions that other kids had. And I think it's because we used herbs first. Unfortunately, he was one of the first ones to die when COVID came along, which is totally, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Anyway, so he is gone, but he is one who really inspired me. And that was over 20 years ago now, too, before I even got sick. I mean, I already knew that this is what I was supposed to do. 5 years later, I wasn't doing it, but my children needed help and I found him and he was like telling me, this is what you're supposed to be doing, right? And then I
Yeah.
still didn't do it. And then I got sick. So, I mean, everything kind of happens for a reason, right?
It does.
Yes. We are running out of time today, so we need to wrap it up. I'm not sure exactly what we will talk about next week. I know we need to talk about meal planning. I'm sure there's something from today's discussion that sparked an interest too. Anyway, join us next week. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please let us know your thoughts and your experiences as well.